Hello all, and welcome to a new video series I'm working on where we will take a look at the art design of some classic retro games. As this is the first video in this series, I encourage you all to offer suggestions and constructive criticism as to how it turned out. Without further ado, let's talk about today's game, Super Mario Bros. For the NES. Released in 1985, Super Mario Bros. Is a side-scrolling platformer action game designed to run on Nintendo's new 8-bit console, the Nintendo Entertainment System. Super Mario Bros. Was directed by Shigeru Miyamoto, who, along with Takashi Tezuka, were responsible for the game's art. The art style of the game is colorful and cartoonish, complemented by the fun, vibrant background music. Each world has some unique sprites and backdrops, so let's take a look at a few of those. The first level has a floor made up of a rocky texture and a bright blue background. We can see some simple bushes and hills in the background. And after we get to the second level, we're greeted by a pitch black backdrop and dark blue rocks for the floor. Similarly, the enemies will change color between outdoor levels and cave levels, as seen with this Goomba right here. Right off the bat, we can tell that even with the hardware limitations of the NES, the developers were able to craft ideas which differed meaningfully from each other, each area giving the player a sense of being in a unique portion of the game's world. They even added a fun spectacle to the end of the level, wherein Mario hops onto a flagpole, slides down, and marches into a castle while the remaining level time is added to your score as points. This could easily have just been a goal that you reach, and the level just ends suddenly, but they gave a small artistic flourish instead, which is nice to see in the first entry in a new series. Now seems like a good time to talk about the character and enemy sprite design. The player character has some fun, fluid animations for running and jumping, although his crouch frame looks a bit silly to me. The developers came up with the unique concept of changing Mario's size when he gets his first power-up, and then changing his color palette when he gets another power-up. This visual change lets the player know their power status at a glance without any questions, which works quite well in a game like this. If you find an invincibility bonus, Mario flickers different colors to indicate his invulnerable status, which is helpful in knowing if you should avoid enemies or run right through them. The enemies are simple designs, but fit right in with the whimsical world established for our plumber protagonist. The basic enemies, Goombas, look like funny little brown mushroom creatures, waddling mindlessly towards the player and falling to a single head stomp. The Koopa enemies, however, are slightly tougher, retreating into their shells after being stomped. If their shells are then kicked, they become a bouncing obstacle to player and enemies alike. This joining together of art and gameplay mechanics keeps the game feeling logical and consistent. It's understandable that a turtle shell would not be harmed by being stomped upon, and that being run into by one might be rather painful. This shows the developers had form and function in mind while working on the game. Other enemies include the Spinies, which, as their red spiked shell insinuates, cannot be stepped on safely. There are also plants which climb out of pipes with massive teeth threatening to chomp the player. The enemy design in this game suits the artistic and mechanical intents behind gameplay and story, complementing it and helping it to be more than simply the sum of its parts. The next unique environment we see is an outdoor area set in the treetops, which distinguishes itself from the other outdoor levels with a unique tile set of sprites. At this point, I don't have too much else to say about this game's art design. It all serves the purpose it set out to serve, but when you think about it, that in itself is saying something. When this game came out, game design for home consoles was in its infancy, and no real trends had thus been set yet. Yet when you look at more modern versions of the Mario series, the graphics may have improved, but the artistic intent is still the same. This is quite unique to see the initial entry in a series survive for 40 years thus far, mostly unchanged. And it shows an exemplary effort was put forth by the artists and developers. There are a few more areas in the game, like castle levels and night levels, but essentially the analysis is the same throughout. Each area distinguishes itself nicely and has a different atmosphere, which works well to create the sense that this is a unique and interesting world in which we are playing our game. Now, so far I've only talked about the positives of the game's graphics, but there's a negative or two that I've encountered. My main complaint with the game's art style is that these colors are brighter and more harsh. Now, I imagine on CRT TVs, the harshness of the color palette was a lot less noticeable, but even so, In Super Mario 3, made a few years later, they chose a much softer and more satisfying color palette. This might be a more subjective judgment based simply upon the colors I like, but I think it's still a fair one. You can let me know in the comments if you agree. So overall, my analysis of this game's art style is that the art is kept simple by hardware limitations, but shines through as quite well done by objective standards of what works well in an artistic sense. I give the graphics overall an 8.5 out of 10 for the aesthetic function they serve. It's clear when they were making this game, they were working towards making an artistically competent experience, not just a game to sell and get some money from. And to me, that's always appreciated. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed my short analysis of this game's art style, and I hope you'll stick around for the next video where we'll analyze another game. Again, I greatly appreciate any comments and constructive criticism you can offer, and I'll see you all later.